Welcome to our class on Chassidus. We're going to be learning a beautiful Chassidic discourse from the Rebbe. The name of the Chassidic discourse is called Tazriya. The Rebbe said this Chassidic discourse in Shabbos, Parshas, Tazriya, and Metzora in the year Tafshin Memches, that was 35 years ago, which was on the 6th day of the month of Iyar. So again, the Chassidic discourse is based on the verse of this week's Torah portion where it says, Tazriya. If a woman gives forth seed, the Yolda Zachar, and she gives birth to a male child. So the Rebbe says, it's explained in Lekutei Torah, which is the classical works of the Alter Rebbe on the Torah portion, and we call it the Chassidic Torah portion, the Chassidic Torah portion. And he says like this: we know it says in Chazal that when a woman gives seed first, then she gives birth to a male son. What's the reason? Because everything in holiness is intertwined one with the other. In other words, so what is a man and what is a woman on a spiritual level? So in Kabbalah it's called a Zachar, male, and a Keva, and a female. And in a spiritual level, what is that? What's the practicality of it? So the man is more associated with the sphere of Chesed, and the woman, the Nekeva, is more associated with the sphere of Gvura. And since we know all the spheres are intertwined, Chesed has within it Gvura, and Gvura has within it Chesed. So therefore what happens is when it comes down to revealed place, so in Chesed, Gevura gets revealed, and in Gevura Chesed gets revealed. So the author explains beautifully and Kabbalistically the reason why Isha, a woman that gives forth seed, she gives birth to a male. Well, seemingly, if the woman is giving forth a seed, she should give birth to a female. And the answer is because, true, Isha, her main dominant force is Gevura, but since she has Chesed within, so what gets revealed from Gevura, Chesed gets revealed. And Rebbe says, like we see literally in the world. In other words, in the south, which is, again, the south is referring to, Kabbalistically, the right, and it's also connected to Chesed. So seemingly, if the south is right, and it's Chesed, but in the revealed level, what do we see there? It's very, very hot. It's very, very strong, which is Gevura. And matter of fact, the people that are living there have a very dark complexion. And also it's not calm, it's not peaceful, it's just the opposite of Chesed. So it was in the right, the south, which is Chesed, the dominant force. What's the revealed part? It's Gevura, it's the opposite of calm, it's darkness, etc. In other words, why is that? Because even though it's in the south and the main force is Chesed, but since there's Gevura in there as well, so what gets revealed is the Gevura part. And that's why it's dark, and that's why it's not calm. On the other hand, in the north, which the north we know is left, and the left is what? Is Gvura. So seemingly, what's the dominant force? Gvura. But what's the revealed part? The revealed part is Chesed. And you can see when the people living there are lighter, or white, and it's much more calm, and that's where all the 70 nations live, etc. So you see the example from the world that even though again the right is Chesed, what's the revealed part? Gvura, and the left, which is Gvura, what's the revealed part, which is Chesed. And not only that, in the two sides of right and left, which is basically Chesed and Gvura, you not only have Chesed as Gvura and Gvura as Chesed, but we know, for example, the east is called the face, and Ma'ariv, the west, is called the back, and the south is the right, and the north is the left. So you see that everything is really connected. All four sides are connected one with the other. So that's physically the way it plays out in the world. And the same thing also goes on with the names that Hashem is called. In other words, we know, for example, Hashem, the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei has multiple permutations. So one of them is what called the Shem Ma, which is numerically 45, but in the Sphira, Ma is associated, Mem Hey is associated with the idea of Chesed. And then you have the Shem Ban, which is 52, and that is associated more with Gvura. Now, the fact is, even though you can say that Ma is Chesed and Ban is Gvura, but the fact is, in Ban you have Ma, and in Ma you have Ban. Within Chesed you have Gvura, and within Gvura you have Chesed. You see that even Hashem's name are intertwined. So based on this, Rabbi explains that's why it says a woman, which is again seemingly it's gvura, she gives birth to a male, because the fact is it says Isha Mazriya, she's giving forth. Forth is what is producing outside of gvura, and that's why what does she produce? She produces chesed. The chesed comes out from her in a way of hashpa, in a way of a flowing of energy. So based on this, over there, the Alter explains more at length in this Chassidic discourse that it also applies in our avodas ha'adam when we serve Hashem, because ultimately it's all about serving Hashem, that you have to have the intertwine of all the midos. In other words, you can't just be chesed and you can't just be gvura. You need chesed, you need gvura, you need tiferes, you need all the spheres, and all the spheres are connected one with the other. The simple English, you can't be an extremist. You can't be just pure chesed or pure gvura, etc. All spheres are intertwined. Now, in the beginning of the Chassidic discourse over there, he brings another insight. This we learned was one insight. Why does a woman give birth? Because again, from gvura comes chesed, the way the spheres are intertwined. But he gives another reason over there, and of why when a woman gives forth seed, that does a male come out. And he brings over there that the philosophers they were struggling with this issue. And they came along and they explained as follows. Because what happens is the woman's seed comes first. So what comes afterwards? The male seed comes afterwards. So since it came afterwards, and there's a rule that the one that comes afterwards, so it means it's on top, is stronger. I know like there's another expression that says everything goes based on, like, so to speak, the end. So based on that, they explain the reason why if a woman gave forth seed, the male is born because she came first. The male seed came afterwards, and since it came afterwards, it's stronger and it's on top, and that's why the male, the zachar, comes out. That's another opinion that the Alter brings in the Chassidic discourse. But then the Alter says, he basically pushes it aside and he says, no. And this is not necessarily the answer. And he explains, like we explained before, that from the female, you have a mix of both. And literally from the female, you have where the Zachar comes out, the male energy comes out from. Now, the Rebbe says, obviously, if there's two insights, two insights the way to explain it, and the Alter picked one, and he pushes it aside the other one, it doesn't mean that the other one doesn't have any room for truth. In other words, there is obviously room for that insight that because she came first, the other one came second, the second one's stronger. Why is that? Because anything that's brought in the Torah, there's room for it. And like it's explained in a powerful teaching of the previous Rebbe, that anything that says in the Torah, even if someone says this is the law, and people joke about it and say it doesn't make sense, etc. The fact is, everything comes from Hashem, and even the part we're saying that it's a weak, we're saying it's coming from Hashem. And the same thing also, let's say, for example, there's a question in the Torah, and there's an answer. But the question is still a question that stands. And the same thing also about the answer. Every question, every answer, even if you want to call it a weak answer, it's still an answer. In other words, everything in Torah has an everlasting message, and everything in Torah it has an everlasting existence. So the same thing also would apply in the revealed part of Torah as well, and how much more so in the spiritual part of the Torah. That even like an initial thought is part of the everlasting Torah. But the fact is, okay, fine. We're ruling based on the second opinion. That's the woman that actually gave birth because of the mixing of the spherot, the interconnection between the chesed and gvura. Now, whatever says 1 second. Seemingly we have to understand. If that's the case, that you have two insights, and the Alter is going with the second one, why did he even bring the first one of the philosophers, and he negates it? Why did he bring to begin with? Why did he bring two and say, the philosophers say this, and he doesn't hold from it? I'm going to bring you a second insight. Why bring in the first one? And say, this is the first one, and don't bring the first one. Go straight to the second one and say what the second one is. And especially, as we know, we're learning Chassidus. And in the world of Chassidus, there's no question and answer and a struggle. There's clarity. The beauty of mysticism, the beauty of Kabbalah, there's clarity. So why do you have to bring a position and say, no, it's not like that position? Now, seemingly you can say The reason why that he's bringing it is to make a statement and disclaimer that we don't hold according to that's the reason. And matter of fact, in the revealed part, so that's the reason why they bring a lot of reasons to show that this is a reason. We're making a disclaimer, we're making a statement. This doesn't hold water. But the fact is, Rebbe said you can't say that. Why? Because the first one that the Alter is negating is actually the first one in Likutei Torah. And this is actually a difference between the first and the second one. It's a major difference. Because according to the first one, according to the first insight, what is the Alter saying? That the females produced first, then the male. So in other words, because it came afterwards, the second one is stronger. And that's why she gave birth to a Zachar, because the second one is stronger. But according to the second insight of the Alter Rebbe, it's just the opposite. It's not that the second one is stronger. No, it's saying the first one is stronger. The Isha Ezra's Tchila, it's much stronger. It's coming from her. And the reason why it's coming from her and it's developing into a Zachar is because of the intertwined of both spheres, Chesed and Gvura. But the fact is the first insight is saying clearly that the second one is stronger, and the second one is saying the first one is stronger. So obviously, so if that's the case, it brings back the question, why does he bring the first one? So the Rebbe explains and he says, from here you see that it's not just to bring it, to knock it out. Because then you have the question, why is Chassidus bringing us the questions and answers? It's supposed to have clarity. But on the contrary, there's a positive message that we're learning from the first insight. And in Pasha, Rebbe says that this is the depth of the intent. While the of the letter of the previous Rebbe, that he says that an initial thought is also part of Torah. Why? Because in everything in Torah, it's not that it's an initial thought. Okay, we're going with the second thought. No. In the initial thought, there's something positive we can learn from it. So if that's the case, why does he bring it? Why does he bring that initial thought? Because over here in this discourse, what is the Alter teaching us? He's teaching us that you have the way the spheres are intertwined one with the other. Chesed has Gvura in there, and Gvura has Chesed in there. So therefore he brings this first insight, which basically the one that he's negating, to teach us, no, that it's not that we're totally gaining and it's gone, but there is something positive in there as well. And the thrust of the Alter Rebbe's teaching is that, yes, the second opinion, that's the one. That the reason why the woman gave birth to a male, because it's intertwined the spheres, to teach you that what? That Chesed has Gvura and Gvura has Chesed, and that's why he's bringing also the first insight to teach you that even though, yes, that's an opinion, and we're not going by that opinion, but it wants to show you there is a positive message there as well. And it comes from the fact that in Chesed is Gvura and Gvura is Chesed. So there's always something good you can find in something. There's always something good. Even in the Gvura, and even when you negate something, there's some positive message here. Now, in the Chassidic discourse afterwards, in Likutei Torah, after he speaks about the giving birth to the male son, he speaks about circumcision, and then about the wedding, about the marriage. You go straight from the bris, then you go straight from giving birth, and you go to the circumcision, you go to the wedding. Now, the Alter explains this. The Rebbe explains, since in the Likutei Torah of the Alter Rebbe, it's set up in a way, which is obviously from the Chabad dynasty, and who set up the Likutei Torah? It was set up by the Tzemach Tzedek, his grandson, who was basically a leader in the Chabad movement, and if he's a leader, it's an everlasting leadership, and his lessons are everlasting for all generations, and especially, it's printed in print, and as we know, anything that's in print is for generations. So it's self-understood that this order he goes to from giving birth to circumcision to wedding is specific. In other words, that specifically after you go through the avodah, the spiritual work of a woman gives forth seed and a male is born, which basically is the intertwined of the midos of Chesed and Gvura, then you're able to come to this same idea in circumcision and in the wedding as well. And so now the Rebbe is going to explain it. He says like this. The Rebbe says a powerful idea, and he says as follows. Generally speaking, this materialistic world that we're in, the dominant forces, unfortunately or fortunately, the dominant forces is Gvura. The dominant force in this world is Gvura. Severity, discipline, finite, limiting, etc. And there's like we see clearly. And like it's explained in the Eitz Chaim, and as well in Tanya, that because the dominant force in this world is Gvura, therefore I'll say in Hebrew, I'll translate it, therefore Klipot, which is the opposite of holiness, are governed by a very, very strong. So again, this world, the dominant force is Gvura, and that's why. What's the dominant force? Klipot. There's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of challenges, and so on and so forth. That's because Gvura is the dominant force in this world. Now, but nevertheless, the fact that this is brought in Torah, that the dominant force is Gvura, but on the other hand, we know Torah is all about being good. So it's self-understood that there must be a good message within telling us that everything is Gvura and the Klipot is so strong. And like the Alter brings L'Kutei Torah, in reference to what it says in the Talmud, that somebody that hides the staff, hides the stick, hides the discipline, you hate your child. Because even though we want to educate out of love and in chesed, etc., but you do need the mix of Gvura in there as well. There is a quality that when you bring in a little Gvura, when Gvura is part of chesed. So it's not about, it's not about just Gvura, just chesed. The goal is to find the chesed in the Gvura, and sometimes bring the Gvura into the chesed. Now, so the fact is, this world is full of Gvura. The Rishayim are governed by. But on the other hand, literally from the concealment of Galus, literally from the concealment and because of the concealment, through the concealment, that's how we come to the powerful revelation that's going to be when Mashiach comes. Because then we're going to have, what are we going to have then? We're going to have circumcision on a complete level. What does that mean, a complete level? Like it says in the prophets, God is going to circumcise your heart and the heart of your offsprings. And the same thing also in reference to the marriage of the Jewish people and Kadosh Baruch Hu. We're going to have it on the most sophisticated and complete level, like it says in the Medrash, based on the verse. And that day, what's going to happen? We're going to be called Ishi, and you're not going to be called Baili, which means ultimately when Mashiach comes, we're not going to be just engaged to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're going to be married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you see, literally, that from the darkness of Galus, we're going to go to the ultimate completion, the ultimate revelation, and the ultimate of circumcision, where totally our hearts are going to be purified, and we're going to have the greatest union, the deepest relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what's going to happen then? We're going to have the union of the name Ma, Memhei, which is Chesed, and Ban, which is Gvura, but it's going to be the ultimate, the complete union, up to the point that Ban, which we said is Gvura, is going to go up to a higher level, which is Sag, Samach Gimel 63, to be a crown over the husband, which is Ma. So you see that what's going to happen is the Ban is going to be elevated to Sag, which will be higher than Ma. Up to it's going to go even higher than Sag. It's going to go to the level of Ab, Ayin Bey 72, to the level of Maskil Eson Hazrachi, with all the insights of the power and the strength, like the previous Rebbe explains in the name of the Alter Rebbe, up to the level where it's going to go to the level of, it's going to literally be a crown to the essence of the infinite part of Hashem. So you see from here, the way they're showing you that the flow is, yes, you start, even though we're living in a world where the klipot are very, very strong and it's heavy, heavy gvura, but from this gvura, we're going to have the highest chesed. We're going to have the highest chesed, where ultimately our heart's going to be circumcised, being one with Hashem, and Ban is going to be elevated to higher than Ma, to Sag, to Ab, and up to the point where it's going to come literally the crown for the essence of Hashem. Now, so one second, the Rebbe just taught us something which is very, very little disturbing, that this world we're living in is a world full of gurot. It's where the klipot is strong. And here the Rebbe says something very powerful, and this is the beauty of Chassidus. The Rebbe says as follows: these gevuros that we mentioned, that this world is full of severity, full of klipot, that's, the Rebbe says, it's something in the past. That is something in the past. But now, especially that we went through all the trials and the tribulations of the previous generations, and especially the previous generation. And like it says in the prophet, it's not going to happen again. And how much more so, it's not going to happen more than twice, for sure not. And from now on, we're only going to have toiv, good, and chesed and kindness for the Jewish people. So again, the Rebbe is saying it clearly, even though we said before, in this world, Gevurah, strong Gevurah, says that all the Gevurah already happened. Now it's about good and kindness. Now, where are we going to have on this level, on a true level? For sure, when Mashiach comes, we're going to have the true part of it. Because we know when Mashiach comes, it's going to be Ach Tov Yisrael, only good for the Jewish people. Starting from what? What's the greatest good that we have? From Torah. Because we know, Ein Tov Elo Torah. You want to have a good life? Learn Torah. Torah is all about good. In other words, we're going to be able to have the Torah, we're going to learn it, we're going to comprehend it. And up to the point when Mashiach comes and says, Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzu, we're going to have a whole new level of understanding and learning Torah. And especially when we do our part, our work, in a way of hafatzas hamayanas chutza, spreading the wellsprings all over the world, like we're doing right now. We're learning chassidus all over the internet, all over the world. And the Torah is going to be drawn down all over. In other words, there's this drawing out all over the world. It's outside the human being, but also within ourselves as well. Because even within, what does that mean? Because what is the part of us that's connected to God? The neshama. But the neshama is within inside of us. So on one hand, we're bringing Torah to the world. But remember, within our own world, we have to bring Torah to the outside world. What's the outside world of the neshama? The 248 limbs we have, the 365 veins we have, all the 613 organs in our body. And that's one thing. We have to, our whole body has to be permeated with Torah. B, the Rebbe says, our thought should be constantly thinking about Torah. Our speech, we should be talking about Torah. Our action, we should live a life of Torah. And so that's in thought, speech, and action. Higher than that, our emotions, what should we be excited about? Our excitement should be exclusively about Torah things. And higher than that, our intellect should be engaged with Torah ideas. And like he explains, the author explains in the Torah in the beginning, that also the 10 powers of the soul, it's not the soul itself. But what's this soul self? That's the essence of soul, which is connected with the essence of Hashem. So what the Rebbe is saying is that ultimately, if we want to have, we want to have our life should be full of chesed. The real chesed is what? Is Torah, and bringing Torah to the world, but bringing Torah to every part of us. Every part of us, meaning all our limbs and all our organs, our intellect, our emotions. Every part of us should be all about Torah, and we learn Torah, and Torah becomes our life. And again, our life internally, externally, within us, and externally into the world will come to the redemption, the true redemption, the complete redemption. And like it says in the prophets, Ve'atem teluktu le'echad echad b'nei Yisrael. God is going to gather each and every one of us, and especially by learning Torah, because Torah is similar to gathering each and every one of us. Like, for example, let's look at the classical works that we quote many times from the Alter Rebbe. It's called Likutei Torah. What does Likutei Torah mean? You're Likutim. You're gathering Torah. Just it's similar to that the verse that says V'atem teluktu le'echad Yisrael. God's going to gather everybody through the Torah. And the same thing also when you learn Rambam. We know you're supposed to learn Rambam every single day. That the Rambam's book is also a book of gathering different teachings of the Torah. And the same thing also, learning Mishma, which we know that Rabbeinu HaKadosh is the one that put it all together, which is also a gathering from multiple different teachings that became the Mishnah. And therefore it's interesting to point out that when the Rebbe said this discourse, so then they were learning the second chapter of Pirkei Avot, which is a teaching for Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rabbi Eimer, which he's the one that gathered. But ultimately, by gathering all the Torah and learning Torah and being a Torah Jew, what will happen then is we'll come to the ultimate promise of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem says, Meheira Hashem Elokeinu, Yeshama Bari Yehuda. Very, very soon, very quickly, we're going to hear in the gates of Judah, we're going to hear the 5 voices of the Chatan and the Kala, which corresponds to the 5 voices of the Torah, and what's going to be fulfilled. The prophet says, "Kahal Gadol Yeshuvu Heina." All the Jewish people are going to return. Not just in the future we're going to return, but past tense, we returned already. We're actually in Yerushalayim Kodesh. And also what it says, Torah Chadasha Mi'ititesha, it's not going to be in the future, but it's going to be something of the past. We already received the new Torah. And the most important, the Rebbe finishes off and he says, it should all happen, Tekef Umiyad Mamash, literally very, very soon, Ba'agol Lidan, literally in our generation. So again, here you have another beautiful, powerful Hasidic discourse of the Rebbe about the Siro, the Chesed and Gvura. But I think one of the most, again, it's all powerful, but I think one of the most powerful messages the Rebbe is saying is, even though this world is inherently, it's all about Gvura, but the Gvura is past. Now it's all about Chesed, and the way to connect the Chesed is by learning Torah, by getting involved in Torah. That will give us the ultimate freedom, and like the Rebbe finishes off and says, ultimately, the ultimate freedom will be when Mashiach comes, and next class will be Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Have a great and blessed week. Shavua Tov.